Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. President Trump has the votes to confirm the next Supreme Court justice, his third confirmation, his third Supreme Court justice in his first 4 years. He will be going 8 years. So this is going to completely take the wind out of the sails of the Democratic Party. They are done. They are completely useless. They're pretty much irrelevant. If it wasn't for media and corrupt intelligence officials and an apoplectic, seething, fuming, hysterical Hollywood, well, that's all of them are the same. All of them share the same attributes, especially media, liberal pundits, and corrupt intelligence officials. But you look at the Democratic Party, they're done. What do they stand for? That's another story. President Trump has the votes now. President Trump is going to confirm and nominate his third Supreme Court justice. It will almost certainly be Amy Coney Barrett. I've been talking about that for a long time. Democrats are powerless. It's important to note, number one, that they would have done the same thing to Republicans. Number two, they changed the rules of the Senate. Harry Reid changed the rules of the Senate to ensure that it's only a 50-vote majority. So don't say that McConnell's a hypocrite. You're the hypocrites. You wanted Merrick Garland in 2016 during an election year. Harry Reid changed the rules from a 60-vote threshold to a 50-vote threshold. So you could have perhaps stalled if it was a 60-vote threshold into the next election, but because you changed the vote, and perhaps you could have gotten justices more liberal than Kavanaugh or Gorsuch, but because you changed the vote, because Harry Reid said, hey, we're going to have the Senate and we'll have Madam Secretary win, we want to make it as easy as possible to confirm judges. It went from a supermajority to a simple majority. Okay, Harry Reid did that, so blame Harry Reid. Don't blame the Jill Stein or Bernie Sanders voters. I'm saying this as a person voting for President Trump. The next issue is the following. Democrats are saying, we're going to pack the courts, we're going to do away with the Electoral College. People don't want this, and most Americans don't really understand what that entails or if that's feasible or why Democrats would focus on that instead of issues like Medicare for All, which is what the left wants. Democrats can't even pass a Medicare for All bill. They're not going to pack the courts. You would need all three. You would need the Senate. You would need the House, the Senate, and the executive, and the presidency to pass to pack the courts. And then Republicans would just do the same thing when they had both houses and the White House. So you'd have eventually 500 judges who are liberal and 501 who are conservative, and then, oh my God, we need to pack more Supreme Court justices. Democrats are like, it's like talking to a child. Like, they're so, if they don't get what they want, it's like they're so petulant, but they would do the same thing if they were in President Trump's position. They wouldn't mind a 6-3 liberal majority. They would not mind that at all. They would never talk about packing the courts. In addition to changing and altering the rules, which is what Harry Reid did to make it easier for President Trump, really quickly, be here at 9 p.m. Pacific every evening. We have an amazing live stream. We have the best political live stream in all of YouTube. Reaches like 800. Well, we got over 1,000 viewers the other night. So be here. Tell your friends about H.A. Goodman's live stream on YouTube at 9 p.m. on this channel. And subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I have a great segment right after this one. If you want to support my voice long term, ladies and gentlemen, to my new Patreons, thank you. Your support is greatly appreciated. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding, and I don't have political action committees that funnel hundreds of thousands of dollars from one PAC to another, like some people. But if you want to support my voice, your support is greatly appreciated. If you want to be part of a newsletter, it's contactgoodman78@gmail.com. But this is a really big, important issue. Today, we find out that Mitt Romney is going to give President Trump, or just vote in a logical and rational manner, to do exactly what Democrats would have done to Republicans. Okay. I've become more conservative on certain issues, especially the Second Amendment, because I got a death threat. All right. You did this to yourselves, Democrats. Now, this is for, if there happens to be a Democrat still watching this, or a person who says, oh my God, this person, H.A. Goodman has lost his mind. We knew he lost his marbles in 2016 when he was getting published in the Huffington Post, the Hill and Salon, and advocating that you don't vote for Clinton, or that he wouldn't vote for Clinton at least, even with the prospect of a Supreme Court going Republican. I'm going to explain exactly why Democrats deserve this. When you cheat Bernie Sanders and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and 3 to 4 other Democratic Party officials are forced to resign in disgrace for cheating Bernie Sanders, you have to ask yourself the question. There are journalists, there are pundits, there are people still obsessed with me, by the way, sharing articles that I wrote in Salon. Ask yourself this question. Now take a deep breath, okay? Come to terms with the fact that you would have done the same thing. You would be just fine with a 6-3 liberal majority. And come to terms with the fact that President Trump is a fantastic president, that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize for actually fostering peace deals and economic deals. But that's another story. Come to terms with the fact you're going to lose again because of your own treachery. And breathe and listen. And answer why Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign. In 2016, in a perfect liberal world where media wasn't biased against Bernie Sanders, where the Democratic Party didn't cheat Bernie Sanders, where Debbie Wasserman Schultz wasn't forced to resign, you would have had Bernie Sanders win that primary. He would have then won the presidency in 2016. Now, thank God he didn't. President Trump is infinitely better than Bernie ever would have been. Bernie is a doormat, good human being. Bernie Sanders is a good human being. He's a doormat of the Democratic Party. Okay. Democrats did something that they can't undo. You can't put toothpaste back in the tube. You can't. This is a Pandora's box that will continue to haunt Democrats until they address and apologize or make amends for what they did. They had a primary where they cheated a candidate and pulled for another candidate who then lost. NPR quoted me. I said Clinton could not win. She would lose swing states. I'm telling you, you watch. I don't care if Biden goes all the debates. Clinton will eventually replace Biden because she does better. This is the reason. Because she does better among black and Latino voters. Biden is doing worse among black and Latino voters, so how on earth is he up by 10 or 15 or 20 points or 16 points? The polls are complete nonsense. In aggregate, they're complete nonsense. When you look and kind of slice them up and say, wait a second, on the economy, everyone chooses President Trump, and Trump has more support among black and Latino voters than it did in 2016, and they outspent Trump 2-1, and he still defeated them in 2016. Plus, he has more support this time around. So how on earth is Biden, who, by the way, the man can't, he's wheezing, he's stumbling over his words, he conveys his thoughts and communicates like an exhumed body. So, and media does not cover. You think that media has asked Tara Reid what she feels about Biden? You think media is going to cover the Senate report on Biden's shady activities coming out this week? Biden has been coddled to an absurd extent. I mean, it's weekend at Biden's every day. They're propping him up like it's obvious that he's not really running, but that's another story. Democrats, if you knew that there were voters like H.A. Goodman or 77,000 voters in swing states, and here's another question in addition to why did Debbie Wasserman Schultz resign in disgrace? Because the answer to that leads to the 3 Supreme Court justices that President Trump is about to nominate, the 3rd Supreme Court justice he's about to nominate. But if Democrats knew that there would be people who would not fall in line, see, the reason that they're able to cheat is because you have the people who yelled, and I'm not going to call them out, but you know who they are. The Medicare for All pundits who said vote for Hillary Clinton and then yelled at the top of their lungs about Medicare for All. These are millions and millions of $20 million venture capital people, have millions and millions of subs, and they let the Democratic Party know if you cheat Bernie Sanders, doesn't matter what you do, we'll vote for you. If you cheat him in Iowa again, we'll still vote for you. So they then promptly cheated him 4 years later in Iowa with an app that just coincidentally was linked to Clinton campaign officials. Fine. No, that was above board. I'm sorry. Bernie wasn't cheated again. The issue is the following. If Democrats, if the DNC, if the wonderful pundits at MSDNC and CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times, if you knew that there was a sizable group of voters within the Democratic Party who either wouldn't vote or would vote for Jill Stein or would just write in Bernie Sanders or who would even vote for President Trump. If you knew that there were enough voters to tank your entire political system and political party, why did you then engage in cheating Bernie Sanders? Why did you then try to prop up Hillary Clinton when you knew that people would not fall in line? The argument that, because I wrote a Salon article that said, I'm not voting for Hillary Clinton, and I don't care about the fear associated with losing the Supreme Court. I obviously knew there was, and I wasn't as conservative back then on certain issues like the Second Amendment, so I'm very happy President Trump is nominating his third Supreme Court justice. If you haven't had a death threat, and you haven't gone to the police, and the police officer hasn't told you, yeah, you probably should take matters into your... Well, he didn't say that. He said you should protect yourself with the Second Amendment. So you don't know how that feels, okay? But if you are upset as a Democrat, and you say, oh my God, there were people on the left like H.A. Goodman writing Salon articles saying, I am not going to fall in line, even with the potential for a Republican majority in the Supreme Court. The issue is not about voters who didn't fall in line. Those people cannot be controlled by you anymore. I wasn't going to be swayed or influenced or bullied or intimidated or controlled by the Democratic Party, and I don't care. I don't care what kind of fear tactic they used. Whether it was calling me a Trump supporter or talking about the Supreme Court, I said, look, if you cheated Bernie Sanders, which they did, I'm not going to support you. I'm not going to support a political party that says, well, it's fair and neutral and you can vote in the primaries and, you know, the best candidate will win and then your preferred candidate doesn't win. That's never been a possibility in American life where you could vote for a candidate knowing that, and then they've spent 4 years saying Russian interference. But with Bernie Sanders, they said, well, you know what? Clinton got the most votes. Well, how did she get the most votes? With Trump, they don't say, well, he just got the most votes in swing states. They say, oh my God, it's Facebook ads that nobody saw. So they're completely duplicitous and disingenuous. And they're hypocrites. When it's the Democratic primary, they say, well, Clinton got the most votes. Well, how did she get the most votes? By being fed questions, by debates that nobody saw, by the DNC emails that literally talk about strategies to undermine Sanders' campaign. Why am I bringing this up for like 10 minutes? Okay, this is very important. This is the reason that they're bad at politics. This is the reason that Democrats are horrendous at politics, even though they have every conceivable advantage, from money to media to Hollywood to a perceived grasp of culture throughout the country. They did this to themselves. It's so important to understand exactly why they'll lose again. When they cheat a candidate, whether it's feasible or not is irrelevant, because I don't think it's actually feasible with 320 million Americans and doubling to tripling tax collection according to the Mercatus study. But let's say I'm wrong. I could be wrong, but let's say I'm wrong. The policies that get people going, the Medicare for All, or the Universal Basic Income, or the Green New Deal legislation, not resolution, Democrats don't want to adopt. They want to kind of dangle on a string to get people to say, well, one day maybe I'll just keep voting Democrat. At the core of the Democratic Party is just they're marginally more liberal, and they're actually far more neoconservative on foreign policy. They believe in regime changes and toppling despots, and then leaving the pieces to just, and then, destroying, turning countries like Libya into failed states. They believe in the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld foreign policy. They've forgiven the Lincoln Project people from the marriage amendment. Remember that? Left-leaning publications, you probably don't. So, neoconservatives and the Medicare for All people are both voting Democrat. You cannot have that on the American left. They're completely dysfunctional. This is why they're horrible at politics and why they continually lose the biggest battles. They cheated Bernie Sanders. This is what you get if you are unhappy about 3 Supreme Court judges and a 6-3 majority. You shouldn't have cheated Bernie Sanders. Now, again, Bernie Sanders doesn't care he was cheated. He was, in a way, he's in on this whole entire charade. But you did everything to yourself, from changing the rules to make it easier for President Trump in the Senate with a simple majority, to cheating Bernie Sanders in spite of knowing that you would receive a backlash from voters who were not intimidated, who would not fall in line. You knew this. I was writing articles. They were perhaps, I don't even remember. Yeah, there were some other people, absolutely, like myself, who were telling Democrats, we do not care, we will not vote for you if you behave in this manner. And so you got the consequences that you deserved, or at least the consequences that you knew you would receive, but you didn't care. 3 days before the election, Nate Cohn of the New York Times said Clinton has a solid electoral college lead. 1 day before the election, November 7th, Politico said they always wanted Trump. And then Politico, like every other, this is why Assange should be free. Free. Pardoned by President Trump, free, he deserves his freedom. But November 7th, 2016, Politico ran an article, they always wanted Trump, where they talked about internal campaign emails where Democratic strategists said, let's elevate President Trump because he can't win. You elevated President Trump, then you blamed Putin and Russia for doing that. Harry Reid, altered the rules of the Senate to where now you're going to have the 3rd Supreme Court justice, and you could have had more liberal justices, but now it's just a simple majority. You would never have brought up packing the courts. You would never have talked about erasing and doing away with the Electoral College if you won the Electoral College. You're the biggest hypocrites on the planet. So the tears and all, oh my God, the apoplectic hysteria, the usual. They were apoplectic and hysterical when it was record low unemployment. So imagine we have the pandemic, and so now they're like on another plane of existence in terms of hysteria and maniacal, seething and fuming behavior. It is only a matter of time, people, before Democrats and the Senate Democrats and House Democrats line up outside the gates of the White House and take a giant dump and throw their feces over the fence. And then they'll say, look what we've done for you, Democratic voters. We really fought back. I mean, it is only a matter of time before they do that, because all they know is, okay, well, we're powerless politically, but we'll go through the media and tell everyone how upset we are. And then they have fiery but peaceful protests, and that didn't work too, because you've now created a whole generation of new Trump supporters. Sorry, setting police buildings ablaze and Minneapolis asking for $500 million to rebuild isn't going to help you win the election. $1.4 billion isn't going to help you. Every single peaceful protester who was going up against law enforcement at like 2 a.m. and daring them to, engaging in combat, which is not like the First Amendment. Even the ACLU says, yeah, when the police say disperse, you have to disperse. Sorry, that's what the ACLU says. You're not engaging in your First Amendment rights when you're like walking up and trying to provoke law enforcement when they've already said the protest is over. But all of these things like completely backfire on Democrats. They're completely inept. They're completely and utterly inept. They can't even find the winner of the Iowa caucus before 3 or 4 days. It took them 2 days, I think, 2 to 3 days. They're completely incompetent. And then what happens is you have shows like Bill Maher, and then you have MSDNC and CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times, and it's this paradigm of thought. Well, you see, you didn't vote for Clinton, and now you're going to get a 6-3 court. That's not why you're going to get a 6-3 court. You're going to get a 6-3 court because you cheated Bernie Sanders and expected people to just vote for Clinton. That's why. So I hope I explain this in a manner that Democrats could kind of understand and at least disagree with. Because they're the most narcissistic, egotistical maniacs on the planet. They will never admit their faults. They would rather blame Russia and the most xenophobic. The demagogues, and I can't stand people on the left who are like, Trump's a demagogue. Did he blame Russia for 4 years? No, that's the Democratic Party. That's the Democratic Party. Okay, a demagogue doesn't remove soldiers from counterinsurgency conflicts. A demagogue doesn't sign prison reform legislation. You must not know anything about history, Democrats. You must be completely ignorant of history if you think that a despot signs prison reform legislation and then has the opposite foreign policy as the Lincoln Project. Democrats and media and Hollywood are completely clueless of history, or they have no concept of history. And they engage only in hyperbole. That's another reason President Trump will go 8 years. They engage only in hyperbole. They're so apoplectic, they call up friends and family and say, you're voting for Trump, I can't be your friend anymore. It's like, oh my God. Okay, so you don't want peace. You don't want peace agreements between Israel and the UAE and Bahrain and Serbia and Kosovo and President Trump being the first president to step foot in North Korea to begin détente between North and South Korea. So when President Moon Jae-in stated that he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. President Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. President Obama did not. If there was a prize for turning Libya into a failed state, President Obama should have won that prize. But anyway, give me your thoughts below. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. The slow dismantling and destruction of the Democratic Party is taking place. I told you this since 2015. Nobody listened when I was on the left. They tried to silence me. It didn't work. Now they're enjoying the fruits of their labor. And believe me, if you're a Trump supporter, or if you're looking at President Trump and you're saying, wow, he has accomplished a great deal, the best is yet to come. Give me your thoughts below. And they want to talk about the pandemic. Most of the lives lost are in about 8 to 9 Democratic-run states. Most of the property damage in this country are in blue states with blue cities, cities run by Democrats, and the highest unemployment rates: Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, California. So it's Democratic-run states who have the highest unemployment rates as well. Check out H.A. Goodman's other channel. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel if you want to support my voice long-term, people. My Patreon is below. It's heating up. It's heating up, ladies and gentlemen. Be here at 9 p.m. tonight on this channel for the amazing live stream.